Welcome everyone once again to the Spanish Breakfast Show live on YouTooSpain. I'm Skatz, and every week, as usual, I'm finding the answers to lots of your questions about moving to Spain and what to do with the help of experts and expats with lots of experience. That's lots of X's. And of course, you can ask your questions right now in the chat box, wherever it is, or if you're not watching live, in the comments below. Either way, we'll get you the answers. And my wife Liz is on the chat as usual, under the name YouTooYoga, which is her own site. So if I miss any questions, she'll pass them on to me. So give her a wave, everybody. Good morning, Liz. Today, we're actually talking not about moving to Spain, but about staying in Spain, because the hot topic at the moment for British people who were resident before December 31st, 2020, has been applying to stay as part of the Brexit withdrawal agreement. And they don't have long left to complete the process, or do they? So I'll be asking our expert what documents they need and any other questions you have. So without further ado, let's go live to Malaga and Chris from Upsticks. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Very well, thanks. And nice and sunny now. Certainly the first part of summer has arrived with us.
Fantastic. I'm not jealous at all. We had a storm last night in Ireland, and it's cold and cloudy. So, but that's not unusual for Ireland.
We're predicted 30 degrees, I think it is today. It's a bit of a heat wave. I think it'll probably drop down slightly, but yeah, about 30, they reckon.
Stop it now. Anyway, thank you for joining us and giving up your time. So we only have half an hour, so let's get straight into the questions. And this is a topic I don't know very much about, but I will do by the end of this. So let's have a quick summary, first of all, about the withdrawal agreement and what it means for British people in Spain. What is it?
Yeah, so when we spoke about what a good topic would be, I thought this has become relevant again because there's a sort of fictitious June date which is arriving and people are getting worried. So I thought it'd be a good thing to approach. The withdrawal agreement evidently was the period last year where people could regulate their situation in Spain and get the correct documentation to be able to stay here with their residency cards, and live happily as they previously would have done before Brexit. Mm-hmm. So, but we've had during the withdrawal agreement, it was a quite a bumpy ride. During the withdrawal agreement, the process changed for getting residency. In July when they published a new law, which I know you've got there, which you're going to look at in a minute. Mm-hmm. And then we weren't too sure how people who were beneficiaries of the withdrawal agreement, how long they had to apply. And there's also been slightly a bit of confusion regarding the documentation that actually proves that you're a beneficiary of the withdrawal agreement and what you need to do with that.
Excellent. So what documents do you need then?
So first of all, what we can do, just offer a small explanation about what happened during the withdrawal agreement period and what's happening now, if you like, because as it stands at the moment, if you have done absolutely nothing, you do qualify as a beneficiary of the withdrawal agreement. You can actually still apply. You can still apply. Now, there's very, very few people. I think now who fall under that category. I don't think there's anybody who hasn't. Sorry about that. That's my phone going off. Fortunately, it's an internet call, so let's keep turning. Yeah. I don't think there's anybody really now here at this late stage in May who is in that situation. But we had one this week where it was just unfortunate. The person was elderly and they hadn't realised what they needed to do and hadn't completed the paperwork, and it actually turns out on review that we could actually do it for them. So there is still the opportunity to apply it within the withdrawal agreement. That the subdelegation of the government have told us there isn't an end period for that. There isn't an end period for that. As long as you qualify, you can still apply. Okay. But, that could change at any time. So if someone does feel that they still qualify within the withdrawal agreement, evidently, if they still feel they apply within the withdrawal agreement, evidently they can apply. but they would be here illegally because they've been here over the 90 days. So, we're in this sort of grey area.
Yeah.
But anyway, going on to the documents that prove that you are a beneficiary of the withdrawal agreement. Okay, so have you got that document there that I sent you?
Yeah, let's put that up on screen. There we go.
There we go. So first of all, this is a document that was published by the Spanish government, which proves the three things that the three documents that prove that you are a beneficiary of the withdrawal agreement, and this stands as of today, shall we say. So this top one here, this is the old style green residency certificate. This is what we used to get pre-2007. We used to get this big A4 sheet of paper, and that proved that you had residency in Spain.
Okay.
Now, all intents and purposes, that document should have been exchanged for the one below it anyway by now. So if you held that document, you should have exchanged it for a permanent version of the document there, which is a little card. But if you haven't, and you still have that document, then that is still proof that you are a beneficiary of the withdrawal agreement. Now, what you can do, and it's been quite lucky if you're still a holder of these documents. We've had people which have found them who didn't realise they had them. You can actually switch that directly for a TIE card, and you will get a 10-year TIE card. My advice, personally, there's some people who are obviously, it isn't law yet. There's a myth saying that you have to get it done by June. No, you don't. The law, which it follows the pages below this document, I've highlighted a few points which show that it still states that it's voluntary. But if you have got that document, I would say that it's a very, very good idea to get that changed for a TIE card. And luckily, they're not asking for any requirements at all. Here in Malaga, anyway, and in Granada, it's a straight swap. You literally rock up with that document, with the correct documentation, and they will swap that for a permanent TIE card for you.
I've heard that costs about €12. Is that right?
It does, yep. So the tax is €12. If you need to change your address on it, then you'd have to take an updated padron. If you need a company to assist you and do it all for you, then you can use Upsticks. So I'll just get a plug in there.
Brilliant, of course, yes.
So there was there's that one. Moving on to the small card. That is basically the latest version of the green document, which most people were carrying. This is the one in the middle. Most people were carrying who were beneficiaries of the withdrawal agreement, got their residency before Brexit or during the Brexit period, or during the withdrawal agreement up till the end of July, to the end of June, you were given this card. Okay, and that card was handed directly at the extranjerías. You didn't have to make any applications to the government. If you've had this card for more than 5 years, then it will get switched directly for a 10-year TIE card as per the previous document. And if you've had it for less than 5 years, then you will get a 5-year TIE card, at which point you will then get a 10-year TIE card when you come to renew it. Okay. Again, they're not asking for any requirements. There's no monetary or requirements. It's a straight swap.
Sounds really simple to do.
Yeah, it's good. We're actually getting to a point where we're doing quite a few now, assisting people, because the booking appointment can be, though there is appointments available now, I have to say. Malaga, and I think I've said on previous videos, you've got to take your hat off certainly to Malaga, because they have issued a lot of appointments. I mean, back in the pre-Brexit, sort of the Brexit period, they had extra appointments on in hotspots like Fingarola. and actually put specific staff there for the residencies, and they are now dedicated to the TIE swaps. So you have to credit where credit's due. In my personal opinion, and we've done hundreds. Malaga have been very, very good at issuing their appointments and assisting people.
Brilliant. So these cards, just to make it clear, these aren't the TIE cards that I was displaying before. That's different.
That's right. No, so there's a couple of things I will mention. Is if you have got that certificate. Now, we've had a couple of people who, for whatever reason, have gone to do the swap, and it turns out the residency had been annulled, it had been cancelled. Okay. So either they'd spent an extended period outside of Spain, or there'd been an administrative error, but obviously they haven't made themselves known to the authorities in many years. One of them was from 2009, I think the other one was 2013 or something like that. I can't remember. And so, at that point, it's not a problem if you were legitimately living here, but you have to start the process again, go back to the government, get the approval, and apply for your card. So it is, in my opinion, and I have to express my opinion here, my experience in doing what I do, I personally think if you've got either one of those green documents, it's a very good idea now to switch it for a TIE card.
I had somebody ask me yesterday. They lived in Spain and had residency from 2017 to 2019, but because of COVID, they weren't there in 2020. Can they still apply?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a good question. That's a very, very, very good question. Now, yes, you can. As long as you meet all your fiscal responsibilities here in Spain, which we won't go into, we don't deal with that. But if you've got one of those cards or one of those green documents, you spent time outside of Spain, but that document's still valid, you're still registered as a resident, and you can switch that for a TIE card. Okay. So
because of not being in there for the whole of 2020, they might have lapsed.
It may have done. I mean, it's one of those where it depends on your registration with the national police. Whatever. Again, there's a lot of interconnection now between the authorities. So, things like fiscal residency, the tax office, Hacienda, Social Security, the Junta Andalucía here in Andalusia, they all got a big connection. So we're seeing it a lot now with the import and export of vehicles and stuff. People are trying to waive taxes, and you submit documentation, and they jump on the computer and say, well, actually, we've seen that you were here before and you don't have the right to, So it doesn't matter what physical paperwork you present them, they've got it on the system. Yeah. So in that sense, if you had residency in 2019, weren't here for the whole of 2020, but maybe met whatever obligations you had to do here in Spain, and you didn't have your residency cancelled, then you should be able to, in theory, be able to switch it for a TIE card. Now, if there was any reason for them to cancel that residency, then evidently you can't, and you wouldn't get residency through a withdrawal agreement because you haven't been here.
Okay.
So,
and these rules, are they the same across Spain, all the other autonomous regions as well?
Yeah, so in terms of the switch, yes. What I don't know is, I can tell you in Andalusia they're doing straight switches from the green certificate or cards to TIEs. I don't know in other areas, and it might be something good for the channel if you can ask people their experiences in like Alicante, Murcia, Barcelona, if they're asking for proof of like healthcare and income, especially for the people who are switching from temporary to permanent. I know here, before the TIE card was published, if you wanted to switch from temporary to permanent, you had to prove all sorts of stuff. Whereas now, if you've got a temporary, what they call the 5-year version of one of those green documents, it's a straight swap. So, it might be a good thing to ask on the channel what people's experiences are out there outside of Andalusia.
Yes, watchers, do that now. Let's have some comments, and or on the chat now. I've got a few people on the chat. Oh, John Barrow says hello. Good morning, John. He's actually got an appointment to speak with you on the 25th of this month, Chris. So you'll be speaking to him soon. And
I look forward to speaking to John.
Yes, brilliant. So, and get me glass. Nerve. That's a nice name. They've got the nerve. Do you have to specify the region you plan to stay in when applying? It's a different question, but when applying for medical insurance, or is it general for all of Spain? Do you have to specify the region you plan to stay in? That's
Um,
not, yeah.
I think that's a question for an insurance broker. But yeah, no, in terms of the application, within the withdrawal agreement, as long as you've got a policy in place, then but it does have to cover you nationally,
Yeah.
evidently. But most insurance companies or brokers, the one that we work with, for example, what they'll do is they'll issue a certificate. So three things we ask for, I know we'll talk about insurance, we'll tell you, is a
Yeah.
certificate which proves that it's no co-payments and a basic overview of the policy, short terms, conditions and payment of the policy. And that's what across the board in immigration they normally want to see for any form of residency applications.
Okay. Perfect. So, Nerv, if you want any more details about medical insurance, yes, we did a video all about that. So just have a check on the channel. And if you have any more questions about that in particular, then yeah, ask in the comments. Okay, so what other questions did I have? I had somebody asking about their car as well. Maybe that's another topic as well. Um, is that related to your residency?
Yeah, I mean we could do, and I've got a couple of other bits I wanted to run through regarding the paperwork and stuff that we spoke about today. But maybe in 2 weeks, if you wanted to do a car related video, I'd be
Hmm.
happy to waffle on about that because it's a subject that's very close to my heart. So yeah,
Yes, you do that at Upsticks as well. That's one of the sides of your
we
business.
do, and it's been very turbulent times at the moment. So there's a lot of changes going through. So that might be a good one to do.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get back to the withdrawal agreement documents then.
Yeah, so we've spoken about the green ones, and I think again, not to stress my opinion, but I think even that's a good idea to switch your green document to a TIE, and I'm going to tell you why. And it's only I just wanted to express like my personal opinion because of the experience we've had. Now, for
Yeah.
whatever reason, we've had clients who have had problems, and there's been a few famous cases in the news and stuff with the green card getting into Spain. Um, I can't say as the clients that we've had have had problems coming from the UK because they haven't. I've seen it on the news, but we have had some clients who work offshore workers and stuff and use a different travel corridor, and they certainly have had problems with the green card getting in. And
Hmm.
that's hence this document that we've done, which highlights the law and proves that it's a valid document for the withdrawal agreement. So
Of
yeah,
course. Yeah.
and here in Spain, it's becoming although you can fight the case because the law says it's a valid document, it is becoming increasingly hard to use that green document if you're a British citizen.
Mm.
So even sounds crazy, but locally here we have a spares place. There's motor accessories and spares, and we order our number plates for our clients from there.
Hmm.
They just put in a company policy that if it's a British citizen, they want to see a TIE card, they don't want to see a green one. And I said to them, look, well, you can't do that. That's the law, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
The local ITV stations, we did have an incident the other day which we managed to resolve, but they were requesting a British citizen prove their NIE number with a TIE card. Now, this
Hmm.
person was registering a vehicle but paying the taxes. They weren't trying to waive any taxes. They weren't doing it for change of residence. They're perfectly in their entitlement to use their green card, but the ITV dug their heels and said, no, we want to see a TIE card. Now, in
Hmm.
that instance, I had to pay a personal visit to the station, explain exactly that document, and they realised the small administrative mistake, and we managed to get around that. But it's just only stresses that it is becoming a bit of a pain
Mm.
to use the green card if you're a British citizen.
Yeah. I've heard stories, read stories on the Facebook groups where people have been refused various different things because they haven't swapped, and it just doesn't make sense to to keep the green one.
That's it. There's like the DGT. I've heard stories from the DGT. I've heard stories from the Social Security. Indirectly, we hear a lot of stories as well. This is just headache stuff. So we've got a lot of people
Mm.
who collaborate with us. Lots of companies that we work with and stuff. Whether it just be accountants and stuff like that. And we just hear a lot more hassle coming from the green card. No, you don't have to get it switched by June. Listen to the Bill Anderson's radio show the other day. And Charmaine, the British consul, was saying, no, actually, categorically said you don't have to get it done by June. But, I think generally everybody who works in our industry thinks it's a good idea to get it done now. I mean, I've even seen emails from very reputable accounting firms sent to companies which have British staff telling them they have to have it done by June or they won't have the right to work. It's wrong. It's wrong, but there's confusion out there. So
yeah, you were saying you were talking to the British consul as well.
Bill Anderson, the councillor for Mikaz, who had her on a radio show, and he was talking to her about it, and she said, "No, you don't have to," but everybody thinks it's a good idea.
Yeah, I do too.
And let's be honest, those rubbish little cards are horrible. They fall to bits, So
yeah.
And should we move on to actually looking at the TIE card now? Then,
yeah, absolutely. Let's get back to that. Is that on this same? Is that on this same screen here?
So your TIE card, I'm pointing it like you can actually see what I'm pointing at. I'm sorry, man.
Oh, no.
The TIE card is the one at the bottom.
Yeah.
There.
That one there.
And you'll be able to see there that's what you get if you've either switched it or you're a first time person registering within the withdrawal agreement. In fact, show you a live one. Here we go. Yeah. So that's mine. There we go. And what you'll see here is that at this point here, you can see that it shows you under what circumstance you get this card. So the TIE cards, they're not a new thing. All third country nationals get them when they get their residency, and it has all your details on it. And for example, mine says at the bottom there, through Article 50, and at the back, it's been issued under Article 18.4 of the Withdrawal Agreement. Okay. If you get a Non Lucrative Visa, then you'll receive TIE card, and it will say on it Non Lucrative Visa and the expiry date. If you get it under any, under the many ways you can get residency as a third country national here. For example, like we were talking about on one of the shows, if you're related to an EU national and you get it, then it will say it on it. What has happened last year is a few of these cards, I don't know if you saw this kicking about on Facebook as well, a few of these cards were issued with the wrong wording at the bottom. And it said that people like myself, it says here, you'll see permanent resident probably, I think, at the bottom there.
Yeah, it says that on this one as well, on the permanente.
Yeah. So some of them said that these people were family members of EU citizens, and it was wrong. What the police have clarified is that it was a mistake, that the actual registration of the people on the system is correct, and when they come to renew it, they'll get a card which is correct. But what they also said, and we've done a few now, we didn't do it during the big rush, but we have started to do them now, is you can actually get them swapped for free without paying the tax. So if you have got a card which has got the writing at the bottom which is mistaken, then you can go to do an appointment, you have to fill out all the forms, etc., but you don't have to pay the tax, and they will swap that for a card which is exactly the same but with the correct writing on it. So it's not, according to the police, it's not necessary, but if you do want to do it, then you can do.
Yeah, I'd say belt and braces in all things.
That's
bureaucratic in Spain. Yeah,
a good phrase. And for Spain, so and then just to see what time's clicking on, we're just going to quickly touch on the different documents that you get, which people have been trying to come over the border with, and what they are, etc. So, if you're a beneficiary of the withdrawal agreement and you have had your residency approved, you get a document called a resolution. And again, this might be good for people to give their experience of whether they've actually been able to use this document to get into Spain. I know there's been a lot of confusion about that. The resolution, and this is where I think some of the confusion might be coming from at the borders, looks different depending on where you get it from. So this is a document that you need once you've had your residency approved within the withdrawal agreement and you haven't been yet to the police station to give your fingerprint, to the fingerprint appointment, then you'll get a document that looks like this. Okay. Now that's a Malaga one. But then, for example, that's a Granada one.
Granada.
So you can see every region has completely different formats to their resolution. So they all carry more or less the same information, and they all state that your residency has been approved, and a start date and an end date. They do look different, and I've heard of stories of people who have been trying to get back to do their actual appointment, having been stopped, even with the appointment sheets, because we give people appointment sheets, and not being allowed to cross over.
There were all kinds of stories, and it was only 2 or 3 weeks ago when it was on the news, but it's not been. There's not many stories and not many people talking about it now. So maybe it's smoothed out at a lot of the airports. No news from Alicante about people being stopped. So viewers, if you have any stories about that, then let us know what's happening. I know they're not letting tourists in, and they're still talking about that. Boris is talking about opening the floodgates to tourists leaving to go to Spain, but obviously it's not been agreed by Spain yet that they can come in.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those, isn't it? I mean, it'd be definitely good to hear people's experiences, because at the various different airports and stuff, because we've still got people trapped in the UK who need to come over for their appointments, and stuff, and have only got this document and appointment booked. So that's handy. And obviously we're out of the state of alarm this Sunday, which I'm sure will bring its own opening of borders or whatever.
Yeah, Andalusia's opened up all of the individual provinces within it, haven't it?
Yeah, so we can travel now within Andalusia, but from Sunday we can travel out of Andalusia.
You can even have 300 people. You can even have 300 people inside a venue going to a gig. It's madness. It seems like a different.
I honestly, I've got there's a village that I have a big affiliation with, one of my favourite places in Granada called Loja, and at the moment they're at 1,200 infections, I think, per 100,000, and they're completely locked down. And I don't know on Sunday if they just let them fly. I don't know what happens there. I think the Andalusian government has to get the court to rule, has to be a judicial rule to keep that town closed, rather than in the state of alarm you have the automatic right to tell them to close. I think it works along those lines. So but that's that. There was just one other document that I wanted to mention, which has come up quite a lot with people traveling backwards and forwards, is that once you've been through this process, unfortunately I didn't print one off, and you are waiting for your TIE card, which I have to mention are now coming a lot quicker. It's a lot more fluid. They're coming around 5 weeks now, which is good. You get a document which is called a resguardo. Now, this resguardo is the equivalent to a TIE card, and you can use it anywhere, Social Security, anywhere, as a TIE card. Apart from the ITV station, don't use an ITV station. It seems to have a problem with that as well. But all intents and purposes, that's the proof that you have applied for your car. Your car's on its way. Okay, so even I had one when I was doing my switch. But if you want to leave the country and you've got one of these, it's advisable to get a document which is called an ADR, which is an Autorización de Regreso, which doesn't mean that you can just travel with this resguardo. You have to go back to the police, and lots of Brits have been traveling without it. But in theory, a third country national who doesn't have his TIE card, because it's in process, should get a document called an ADR, which is an authorization to return to Spain from the national police.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, we're rapidly approaching 10 o'clock. In fact, we just hit 10 o'clock. Yeah. So I'd better let you go now. It's golf time for your son.
Yeah, I've got to shoot off and take him to golf.
Yeah. So we know what we're going to be talking about in 2 weeks' time then, and cars, bringing your car in, importing your car, and what you have to do to the headlights and everything else. So I'll let you go now. And
thank you.
thanks,
I hope that
thanks again for your
I hope
time.
that helped somewhat towards confusing paperwork.
I hope so. Yes, yes. And everybody, click on the like button if you got something from this week. So thank you very much, Chris. Take care.
Cheers.
I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Bye for now.
Bye bye.
So that is it. There you have it. If there's any more information you want, then please, everybody, go in the comments below, and I'll try and get your questions answered. And also, if you have anything on any other subject that we need to cover in terms of moving to Spain, or documents that you need, etc., then yes, do that in the comments, or go to one of our Facebook, that's the word I'm looking for, Facebook group or the Facebook page, which we have. There's the links to all of those down below. And so next week on YouTooSpain, we're hopefully talking to the estate agent in Malaga that we were supposed to be talking to last week, but he was caught with loads of business. So, and we'll talk about the housing market and what you need to do if you want to buy or rent, and all kinds of guidelines and information there. So join us next Saturday at the usual time of 9:30 in the UK, 10:30 in Spain. And don't forget to check out the Liz and Skatz channel, which is our blog channel. We broadcast live usually on Wednesday evenings about our journey to move to Spain, and also about some health and weight loss that we're still involved in. We lost about 110 pounds last year, and we're heading down to our ideal weights before we move to Spain. So that's all still very exciting. And there's also YouTube Yoga, which is Liz's channel, and YouTube Aromatherapy. You can get free yoga and meditation classes on one of those, and there's loads of really good information about aromatherapy. We also have t-shirts and merchandise on our merchandise page, and as I said, links can be found in the description below, or just ask in the comments and we'll take you through all of that. So thank you all. That is all for this week. You've been lovely. Thank you for all your chat comments, and please subscribe and click on the bell. Ding, there it is. And if you haven't done that already, and I'll see you soon. Peace and love. Bye for now.